Hello, I'm back. And better, finally. I say that I have been coughing today, but I'm better. If you listen to the last two episodes, then hopefully there is a noticeable difference. So when I say I'm back, I mean both in health and from my ski trip. So one thing to get out of the way at the start is before I was going, I kept calling it Les Gets, which now, in hindsight, when I think back, is so uncultured because it's French. It was never going to be Les Gets, but I persevered with Les Gets. Anyway, it's not Les Gets. I think I left you by saying someone had pointed out it's French, so it must be Les Gets. And I went, of course. I think that's how I signed off last week. Anyway, it's Leger. So I wasn't even slightly right, apart from the L at the start, when I was initially saying les get, Leger. Very nice. I will say, the problem when you post about being on a skiing holiday is you do look like you are very, there's a type of person that goes on a skiing holiday. Believe me, I was surrounded by them. Mine was, it actually sounds worse. I was about to say, just to be clear, I'm a man of the people. I didn't pay for my skiing holiday. It was all expenses paid, thank you. But what I meant was I was there for work. Basically, there's a gig that Maisie Adam runs, and it's every year. She picks 3 acts to go out there. She hosts it, and then 3 acts to do a show as part of the Leger Comedy Festival. And that's why we were there. So basically, you all get to go. You all take a +1. So 8 of you basically have a lovely holiday, which we were all waiting for the catch, because they fly you out. They put you in a lovely chalet. They give you the ski passes, ski hire for the week, and they book you the restaurant that you're going to go and eat dinner in that night. And then they just text you at like 5 to say, table's booked here for tonight. And you go there, you eat and you leave, and you get so well looked after. This was genuinely, this whole thing started by me trying to sound more not like one of them, and I think I've sounded worse. The thing is, the people there are so... When I started in comedy, I don't think I realised just how posh some people could be. I think I thought it was the public and then the royal family. And then there's so many posh, upper middle class and upper class people in comedy that it blew my mind. And I know I can sometimes sound like I am that. I'm not. I'm from Slough. My family don't sound like this. I went to school near Windsor, but then so did my sisters. I don't know where I've got this accent from. I know it's not the poshest, but I think also when I start recording, I probably go upper class. I sort of go upper, but how would I really talk? I think you sort of hear people how they really sound probably when they're panicked or when there's some sort of emergency going on. Like, I don't think if there was an actual emergency, I'd go, can somebody call the police? But I feel like someone could imagine that's how I would sound. But I don't know how I would say it, but I don't... Yeah, I do sound... But I remember, in fact, I used to work in a restaurant in Windsor. When I say used to, I did, yeah. It was in the past, but I was there for 2 weeks. Then I think I fainted during a shift, and then they just sort of paid me off to not come back. Which was a lovely deal, actually, because I wasn't enjoying the job. And then I just fell. And they sort of doubled. I think everything I'd earned so far, they sort of doubled it again and just sort of said, you can not come back if you like. And I did like. It's Carluccio's. I probably didn't do the full 2 weeks when I did work there, because they cook you a meal when you first work there, and they gave me food poisoning. It was sausage as a sausage tomato pasta dish, which I don't eat red meat anymore. But by the way, if you're listening in, I think America, pork isn't red meat. I think in the UK is, or pork sort of, is pork. I think there's something on that, so I'm expecting comments. Let me just check. Is first Google of the episode, is pork red meat? Okay. I think in some countries they say no, but there's one Reddit ask culinary thread: is pork red or white meat? This is a fight I have with friends all the time. I don't think you do, and if you do, you've run out of conversation. I don't eat red meat, and when people offer me pork, it's like, what did I just say? Right. Here's a better one. Pork is scientifically classified as red meat because it comes from a mammal. Sorry, what a terrible start to the podcast. I've just got back from a skiing trip where I've been throwing myself down the side of a mountain, and 6 minutes in, I'm Googling his pork red meat. Anyway, they gave me food poisoning, so I wasn't there for, probably worked there about 4 days over 2 weeks and then got paid for a month's worth. Pretty good, actually. Not been back to a college show since. I despised it. But in fact, on my first shift, they, I think it was the next day, my boss called me into the, move the camera closer if you're watching that. My boss, I can't remember his name, can't remember what he looked like, called me into his office and said that they had a complaint to head office about me, how bad I was. I just couldn't care. That's the problem. I had a job. The reason I had the job is I worked at Legoland. When you live around Windsor, Slough where I'm from. When you live around that area, Legoland's such like a common place to go and work. But back then, I don't think it does anymore. It used to shut over winter from like mid-November until March. So you had to go and get another job, and I thought I'd try that one and absolutely hated it. Anyway, yeah, they got a complaint to head. I didn't think I was that bad. I mean, I did get orders wrong all the time, and I sort of, people complained. They were sort of annoying, but they were annoying posh people, but I didn't want to have 2 digs at posh people, or maybe 3 digs in the space of 8 minutes. But they were just annoying, so I just, as I say, couldn't care. I think I'm in the right job now, where it's just sort of me talking, and if it goes wrong, if it goes wrong, people laugh more, and if they laugh more, you are doing your job. So it's sort of foolproof. I mean, if it goes wrong, nobody laughs, then it's bad. But usually it's fine. Anyway, the show was nice. The show was good. The audience were, now, a few people will probably be listening, but I did address this during the show. It was an older crowd than I was expecting. I said that quickly, hoping that if I just said it quickly, you might not hear it, but they were older than I was expecting. I would say the average age was, I regret going into this bit now, 55, I'd say, ish. So not old, if you're listening, just older. I thought it was going to be, there's a new term I learned while I was out there called Henrys. Now, I remember yuppies being a thing, which was young, was it up and coming professionals? Is that a yuppie? Young up and coming, something like that was a yuppie. There's another thing now, which is something that's like a dual couple and with no kids. Maybe duckers, dual dickers, probably not dickers, but it would work. Dual income, dinks. Dual income, no kids, dinks probably. But anyway, this one is Henrys, and it's high earners, not rich yet. I think it's time for the world to end. Isn't it, really? I think when we learn what happened to the dinosaurs, we go, that's a shame. They were so innocent, even though they were, a lot of them, running around eating each other. I think this has to be the worst point in humanity. As I've said that, I've had a Sky News flash come up on my phone. Let's just check what that is. Yeah, it's about Epstein. Yeah, it's the worst. It's the worst time to be alive, I think. But not the worst time to be alive. Obviously, they've had world wars, but I think this is the worst state the world's been in, and there has been 2 world wars. What an upbeat episode this is. Anyway, a lot of posh people there. What happened was, I was up one mountain. I hadn't skied for, it turns out, 9 years. I think people use this as an excuse all the time now. COVID. They'll just go, oh, well, COVID. But COVID was, about 2 years. So there's still 7 unanswered years for what I just haven't been. So we all went up. We all got the gondola up to the first bit of the mountain. Then you get this ski lift up to the top. Not to the top, but closer to the top. And we all just thought, let's have one run and see how we get on. And I just thought, don't overthink it, just do it. And I was fine. Mine is, I think if a ski instructor saw me, they would have either a field day thinking, I'm going to make my money's worth here because this guy needs a lot of techniques and that he has to learn. It's going to take some time. Or they would just sort of keel over. But mine is sort of, what I would describe is sort of, I think the best phrase I can think of is no skill, just vibes, which is that I'm thinking about the next 3 seconds only. So if you were behind me, people will go down and they'll just do a nice big wide S, or they'll do like a snake going through. I'll just sort of change from whatever I need, whatever's in front of me, whereas some people will just sort of cut through the snow and go down. Although I did find that out. What I would do is I would ski near ski schools, and you could just look at what was happening there, pick up enough sort of technique. Like, I knew to go faster, you put the poles under your arms and sort of bent over, and then speed would happen, but it wouldn't quite come. Then I listened into a class and saw that you have to almost sit back, like you're sitting down, and do it. And then I was flying. Fell over a couple of times, but not a lot, actually. Only once I fell over, which was... So 2 of the comedians that were there were Lou Sanders and Harriet Kemsley, and neither of them are very good at following instruction, or not so much instruction, but direction. And as we were going down one mountain, I had my Meta Ray-Ban things on. I was about to try and do the likeable thing of saying didn't buy them, but it's because they were... Sometimes you get given stuff for them to post, and so, like free advertisement. Anyway, what's worse, if I went out and bought them, or that I was given them? Does that make sense? Hopefully that sort of debate does make sense in your head, that you go, oh, I see what he's doing there. Do you know what I mean? Because it's... I think I'd be... Oh, well, they're listening as well. That's why I'm sort of having a debate in my head. They gave them to me. But when I saw they were coming out, I did think, oh, that's quite cool. I bet you could get some good footage. And they sent me a pair, so I just have to... I post stories with them. What they are good for is if Richard Parker comes in and he's on my lap and I record it, people seem to like that they can see both my hands sort of stroking him, because it does seem like you so used to only ever seeing one hand in a video because the other one's on the camera. Anyway, I thought it'd be good to film skiing, and it was. It does say on the instructions not to be used for extreme sports or something, but I don't think you can call me skiing extreme or a sport, to be honest. But anyway, so I'd used them. There was this run we would do where if we went left, we basically had the run to ourselves. And as we were going down it, I just said, well, we go down here, we go left, because we've done this run about double digits times by this point. It's probably about day 4 or 5. And I said, go left, because then we can film that. And that's the way we always go. And no one seemed to go that way, so it was a lot quieter. And neither of them seemed to understand that, even though that was the only way we ever did that run. Anyway, as I'm filming them, I'm shouting left, left, and they're going right. Then they see that I'm going left, so they tried to go left, but there is like a fence in the way. But the fence is made up of that sort of bright orange material stuff. You know, like plastic thing. Anyway, they got tangled. I think it might have been some sort of rope or string, actually, and they got tangled. By the way, I've been away for a week, skiing down the side of a mountain. Got back last night. My thoughts are sort of all over the place and nowhere at the same time. Anyway, they both got tangled up in the fencing, which I thought would make great content. Went to film it and then fell over myself. So you sort of see them two tangled, and then the next thing you see is my skis up in the air. I'll post it somewhere. But actually, I wonder if I can attach it to this video. Not promising anything. Almost instantly regretting that I said that. But I'll see if I can post that here in this bit as that happens. So this is for maybe YouTube and Spotify. You'll be able to see the video. I'll do my best. Anyway, if not, message me. That's the clip. So I've filmed it, and it's good to film that. What happens is, though, you film it and you think you're going so fast when you're filming it, and then you watch it back and you just go, just forget it. Or maybe I'll speed up the video. Because I even thought me falling over happened really quickly, but in the video, it looks like me falling over was an afterthought, where I thought I fell and then suddenly my skis are in the air, but you sort of see it happening. You know, when an emergency happens to you in real life, you're supposed to see it in slow motion. I saw it happening in real time really quickly, watched it back, and it seemed to be in slow motion. I'm just going to take a sip of my tea. However, we are 17 and a half minutes in, and I have a feeling it's probably gone cold. Yep, cold tea. I was supposed to take tea bags with me out there, and I forgot them. And then we tried the tea that they left us in the chalet, and we all thought it tasted lemony. And then we realised that what actually had happened was so we went and bought other tea bags, because you're abroad, you get the English part of the supermarket. Bought other tea bags, and it turns out the detergent or whatever, washing up liquid they'd used for all the mugs and bowls and everything tasted lemony. So the taste was actually just sort of washing up liquid, but we thought it was just a English breakfast lemon tea. But that was that. So it's good to be back and have a good cup of tea. Having said that, just tried to take a sip of that and it was cold. So I was going to record this while I was out there, but I thought I'll probably be too tired and my concentration won't be great. I know. I will get back from 7 days of skiing and just record on the Sunday, and that'll be great. And here I am. Clearly tired and not jet lagged because it's an hour, but you're still just, my head's a bit all over the place. It's just trying to have one day of normality before Monday. What I'm thinking is, when we were away, I'm usually not very good at getting up early. I was getting up at, that was my real accent. That's it. Getting came out then. But rather at the start of the episode, I would have said getting. Well, I was saying les gets. I was getting up. That's not how I talk. Mine is all over the place. My point earlier about Carluccio's was, that's why I mentioned it. I was, lived just down the road from Windsor, in Slough at the time, and I remember serving a couple from Windsor, and this must have been when I was a day that I was actually okay at the job, or the couple I was serving were nice, and at the end, they said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Slough." And they said, no, like, where are you, well, they said from, which you definitely can't say anymore, but they said it. And I said Slough. again, I was born at Wexham Park Hospital, if anybody wants to update the Wikipedia page. Wexham Park Hospital, and they were both from Windsor, and one of them had guessed, I remember one of them had guessed South Africa, and I think the other one had guessed, maybe it was Australia or New Zealand, but that's what I mean. My accent, even to people around there, people were confused of where it came from. So I don't know what my accent is. It must be slightly regional though, because people love to tell me under the videos how much I sound like Ricky Gervais, but that's because he's from Reading, I'm from Slough. That's 5 to 10 miles down the road. And in fact, when I first started stand-up, I had to stop myself from watching any of his work because I knew I sounded like him anyway. And I remember at I think it was the third gig, my friend Barry came along, and he said as I was up there, somebody turned to their friend and said he sounds like Ricky Gervais, which now in hindsight, having realised how sort of lazy and unimaginative a lot of people who work in TV are, I should have probably carried that on, because really they could go, oh, he's like a young Ricky Gervais and we can afford him. So we use that. But instead I sort of stopped because my childhood was watching all of his stuff. And so me and all my friends would always talk like that. We just always went, oh, here he is. So I did have to drop that for my career. In the long term, definitely a good thing. But now people will still tell me in comments, you sound like Ricky Gervais. Fair. So I don't know what my accent is. I seem to be having some sort of accent crisis. What I do like about being in France is saying excusez-moi. Excusez-moi. It's such a friendly way to say you're in my way, please move. Because it sort of makes it sound like it's you that's the problem. Excuse-moi, like, sorry for me being me, just need to get past. Whereas here, if you say that, excuse me, in England, it seems a little bit passive. Excuse me. It seems like you were in my way and you need to move. Excuse-moi really does, because you're saying, even though you're both saying me and you're saying moi, something about the rhythm of excuse-moi. Excuse-moi. Excuse me. Well, maybe I'm not helping that. Maybe let me try and say excuse-moi sounding passive and say excuse me sounding friendly. Excusez-moi. Yeah, fair. Excuse me. Oh, okay, yeah, it's just a rhythm. Anyway, I do like excusez-moi, but the problem is if I bring it back here, I sound like Del Boy. International listeners, Only Fools and Horses, Google it. My French is bad. I do Spanish on Duolingo, but what I would do is, even though my French is bad, whenever I did think I wanted to say something to a waiter or somebody in a shop in French, and this is no use to the locals that I was there with, I would in my head say, what would I say here if I was in Spain? And I could do it. So at least I know Spanish. It's not very helpful when you're in Leger. But my Spanish is coming on. My plan is I would like to spend like a month in somewhere small in Spain, not like Barcelona or Madrid, somewhere out the way where their English isn't going to be as good. Because if you go to tourist places that are like non-English speaking countries, they just want you to speak English because it makes everything go quicker. I'm thinking of Paris. They don't want you to speak their language because they're just like, we've got so many tourists here, we just all speak English to you all. In fact, one hack is, if you don't want to seem like an ignorant British person or Canadian, American, and Australian, anywhere that speaks English as a first language, what you can do is you can speak English in a broken way and pretend that it's not your first language either. So I did think when I was in France, I could speak English with like a Spanish accent and make it seem like I'm also just having to speak another language. Little life hack for you there. Really, all you need to know is to say, how do you say? Because I think if you can just, in French, I don't know what it is, but I should have learned that. If you can just do how do you say, but say in French, that's enough, I think, to pass you over. What does happen though, and if there are any French or Spanish people listening, I can't remember if you came up in my list of countries last week. However, if you're trying to speak French or Spanish, they really correct you with the pronunciation. They really sort of want to let you know you're not quite saying it right. Just so you know, you don't say it right either, but we are too British to actually teach you. So we just sort of accept that you don't always speak perfectly. Seems a bit Brexit, that, doesn't it? Having to go at foreign people for not being able to speak English properly. But I just mean when I can't do the rolling of the tongue thing, so I can't ever do that. That's not going to happen. So we have to find a way around it. It's a bit like when I was at school, I can never do when people would shake their wrist and it would make a slapping sound. I should do it and click at the same time to make it seem like it was really happening. What am I talking about? 25 minutes in, and I've got no recollection of what I intended to even be talking about. Leger was lovely, though. Can I just say, lovely place to be. Very posh people. That was my point. So what happens is, I think, because everyone's got goggles and helmets on, there's a little bit of people can make comments, a bit like they're in a car because their head and their eyes are behind a protective screen. So I had a slight run-in with a lady who pushed in, and I just said to my friends, "Oh, we'll just get the next one, then don't worry about it." And then she was English, and she said something like, I was just saying it as quite a light-hearted joke. It was a bit annoying, but it was fine. And she went, what did she say? It was something like, you were chatting. And I said, oh, sorry for talking to my friends in the queue. I think we're all a bit tired there. But anyway, she said, what was it? She said something like, don't comment about somebody if you don't know them. And then she said something about me. I said, well, you've just done the same to me. And she went, no, I did it to your face. And I said, well, that's not what you said. You didn't say do it behind your back. You said don't comment about other people if you don't know them. And you made a comment about me and you don't know me. And she just sort of skied off. But there was a little bit of that. But I think it's again, sorry to have 3 digs at posh people in the space of half an hour. It's posh people just expected. People are going to move out their way, I think. And I think I've got a problem with authority. It sounded very posh when I said that. But, people who they might be high up at their job, whatever they have. But when they're in society, they still act like they are that. And you go, no, you're just annoying, just rude. And you think that there are just people who think rules are different for them, that different rules apply, and that they can, I don't know, sort of go. I think that's it, isn't it? Rules don't apply to them. She was like that. Anyway, she just sort of pushed in and then started. Maybe I shouldn't have made the comment, but I just went, oh, yeah, we'll just wait for the next one then. Which is fine. I think if someone said that to me, I'd go, oh, sorry. I think I would probably do that and I'd feel a bit. But she didn't. She really just said it was my fault for talking to my friends. And then she must have realised what she thought she had said is, don't, talk about people behind their back, say it to their face. But that's not what she said. What she said was, don't talk about people when you don't know them. I said, well, you just said that to me. She went, no, I said it to your face. I went, that's not what you said. You said if you didn't know me, you don't know me. I definitely won the interaction there. That's the main thing. But anyway, most of them were nice. And there was one, I think it was the second day when I realised how posh people were, is I had to ski through a group of guys that were stood around chatting. What's embarrassing is when you don't know whether they are English or French. So you sort of go, excusez-moi, and then they're English. And they know that you're English as well because of your excusez-moi sounding incredibly British. Anyway, I said, oh, excusez-moi, as I went through. And then one of them just went, no worries, chap, bon skiing. That was the vibe. All very nice. Apart from that one lady, I think, in red trousers. I think the fact she was wearing red trousers, red salopettes, really does sort of let you know everything you need to know about her. It's halfway through, 30 minutes. I realised the last few episodes I've been ill, recovering, but still ill, and now absolutely exhausted after 7 days skiing. So I feel like every time I'm unable to really focus at any point. But I'm going to make a tea because this one's gone cold. Then when I get back, I want to talk to you about a TV show I started watching this week, Jury Duty. Have you watched that? It's such a unique idea. I listened to a podcast with a producer on it. The producer produces Jury Duty and White Lotus. What a life. Does anybody else keep getting these pieces of fruit and food telling them how to be healthy on Instagram? Because I've been getting them for a while. Then today I've noticed they seem to have all sold out. Like, as in, I've done paid collaborations, so I'm not just having a random dig at them, but they all just started posting about Prime drinks today. And just, so if you've not seen them, they're like, there'll be a bit of like chia seed, and it will tell you why that's good for you, or it will be a mushroom telling you the benefits. And then there's also, they're like inside your body. It's all AI. But they sort of shout at you. They sort of say, I'm chia seed. Eat me so that your body knows how to digest fats and stops your arteries from clogging. And then it'll be like mushroom. And it'll be like, eat me if you want to get vitamin D. Otherwise your body will die. Stuff like that. Anyway, today they just all seem to have started posting. One of them was about not having sex in a cinema. And it was like, I'm the seat. I'm a cinema seat. And don't use me for that. And I'm a CCTV camera. I'm pointing at you throughout the whole film to make but odd. And then some of them have been posting like, yeah, I'm Prime. I give you this much protein, and I'm better than any powder you can buy because the tub that you drink out of won't get bacteria in it. Like, you know, people have those plastic shakers and they shake them and then they have their protein powder. It's like that. I say people. I've actually got one, but it's like if you leave it in the car, it fills with bacteria and it's gross. So drink Prime, and I'm better for you than Coke. Yeah, well, that was one of the arguments. Anyway, they seem to have all sold out overnight and just sort of started posting this brand stuff. Right. That's not what I was supposed to talk about. Basically, I went to make a cup of tea and I was looking at my phone, and that's what I saw, and I've been seeing it all day. It's like they all took off in the last 2 weeks, and then brands must have contacted them, and then I don't know why they've all seemed to have done it today. But my thought now is that all of these, some of them are about food, some of them are about body, some of them are about just like general health, and then some of them are about like habits and why reading is good or walking is good. But today they're all about brands you should give your money to, unless, like, you never know, has like Prime paid for it, or was Prime behind it the whole time, because it's just sort of snuck in at, like, it'll be like, you should eat raspberries because they are a good source of energy, and grapes are great because I don't even know. I don't know. It's good for you, aren't they? But and then it's try to sneak in that a Prime energy drink is just as good as that. Yeah. I really thought I'm going to come back second half and really make up for the first half, and I'm all over the place today. I'm very tired. I think what happened was, because I was waking up at 7:30 every morning when I was on holiday, I didn't think I would. I thought I'd be laying in, because skiing, for one, is tiring. In fact, I Googled today, and it's we were looking, it said it was like, it can burn up to, even for a beginner, 2,000 calories a day that you'll burn skiing. And this is, you'd ski, stop for a hot chocolate, and then I would be getting ready the next day and go, oh wow, I'm on holiday and I'm not putting on weight. And I realise it's, of course, because of that. So I think basically I've been sort of through some sort of like intense sport training, it feels like, for the last week. And it's technically a holiday, but I'm clearly absolutely exhausted. But I was waking up at 7:30 every morning. I'd get up. It became a nice routine because we were all staying in the same chalet. And I'd get up at 7:30, have a shower. I'd go and I'd put the kettle on. I'd start making some eggs. We'd have porridge. We'd all sit around the breakfast table. It was almost like traitors, but we no one was getting killed overnight. And then we would just eat and then get ready, and we'd all go off and ski. But then you're skiing for like 7 hours. But of course, some of that is you sat on a chairlift. Then it's half of the time on a chairlift, half of the time sort of flying down the side of a mountain. I say flying, Although I don't know what the speed is that you'd actually go at, but I guess you're tense and it's cold, so your body must be shivering. But yeah, 2,000 calories. But what that's not counting in is every few runs stopping for a hot chocolate. I don't think they really count that in. In fact, somebody tagged me in a story today and said it was something along the lines of, having said that, I'm actually just going to read it to you rather than it being along the lines of this. Where was it? This is the story they tagged me in. Spotted this legend twice on the mountain this week, although actually in mountain restaurants, which I think says more about him than me. What I will say is, yes, I was enjoying a hot chocolate or two. But also, you're going to recognise me in the restaurant because I'm not going to have my helmet and goggles on. So you might have seen me loads, but I was just flying past. I was a blur. Anyway, I thought I would come back and go straight to like a health kick of food I've been eating. But no, right after this, I've got a chocolate social, they call it, from Ollie and Steen. God, this really makes me seem like I am up there with the skiers, doesn't it? I've really not come across well this episode, I don't think. Sat here drinking tea out of a Le Creuset mug and talking about the fact that I had a free holiday skiing, wore my free Metas, and I had an argument with a lady in red trousers. that sort of sums up the holiday, really. So the jury, no, it's called Jury Duty, and it's this show that you might, if you've not seen it, maybe if you've been scrolling around Amazon Prime, it might come up. I'd always seen it and just assumed it was like a comedy show about being on jury duty, which it is, but it's not that, because it's jury duty, but everybody in it, from the judge to the everyone in the jury, the suspect, everybody basically, the like court security, the whole thing is fake except for one guy who believes it's real. So everybody's playing this part constantly around him because they end up having to stay in a hotel and then to keep them all together for extra like content. And everybody's in on it except for this one guy. And it's so well done because it could cross over into being a bit ridiculous because I think it's the same creators of the US Office. And there's a bit of that, the way it's filmed, you can sense that. But they've basically sold it to him that for the first time in history, they're allowed cameras or something to follow the jury, and this has never happened before. That's what they think. That's what he thinks it is. That's why the cameras are there, and that's why they're doing jury duty. Then they go in to like talk to the camera to have the sort of interview like they would do in the office when they go and talk, or like in Big Brother or something. And it's so good because little things will happen where he'll have some odd interaction with a man, and then the man had to leave jury duty because he got injured, and everyone has to share their anecdote of what that man meant to them, and they've all got these really sweet stories. I can't give the exact example. One, I don't want to spoil it. It's good fun. Also, it's a bit rude, but it's very good. The Jury Duty, that's on Amazon. So it's a bit silly, but it could be terrible. It could be so over the top that he would think something was happening, but it's done really well. And then they've actually got a new series coming out called, I think it's called something like Company Retreat. Well, I don't know how they've done this. Maybe it's like a new hire and they get taken to some company retreat thing. But again, it's that they're filming it. But I was listening to a podcast with the producer on, and that's the producer that does this, and he does White Lotus. And he was saying they have to think about casting so much to make sure they don't get somebody who has seen jury duties. They have to find subtle ways to interview them to find, like, are they into comedy, or do they watch Amazon Prime? Just ways that the show might have, which actually feels quite on the nose now I think about it. But I think they weren't just saying to them, do you watch comedy shows and do you have Amazon Prime? But I think they were basically building a profile to make sure it was somebody who the chances are hadn't seen that show. But then, because it's I was thinking this, it's a ridiculous show where, is in good, but a ridiculous situation where a man is on a crazy jury duty where he doesn't know it's happening. And there's some really sweet bits in it where there's one character, again, it's very US Office. He's a bit Dwight-like. He's very over the top, and he invents things. So he has like, and this is going to sound crazy, but he has like these trousers that he sews like crutches into the back so he can sit down whenever he wants, which would be good for like a festival. But the character is so believable that doesn't seem absolutely insane that he turns up to jury duty with them on. And the guy who is the only one who is real, he actually invites him into his room when they're in the hotel, because they've got a load of DVDs to watch, and one of them is A Bug's Life, and he shows him A Bug's Life because he says, oh, it's about an outsider who just wants to invent things to make life better for everybody, but people don't take him seriously. So he's, which is really sweet, because he has then taken the time to sit with the guy to say, this is you. But the actor has had to sit there in character for 2 hours, basically lying to this guy and staying in character. So my point was, when they make Company Retreat, I think if I had been taken on some comedy show, and so there was a reason for cameras to be around, or look, this skiing trip, for example, if they had said, when you're going on this skiing trip, they're going to film it for like a comedy documentary about a load of comedians skiing, but everybody was in on that they were all being like heightened versions of themselves, and I wasn't told this, I would have still fallen for it. So I think you don't have to check that much. I don't think, because I've done stuff on shows that are like prank shows, or like celebrity prank shows, like if this makes sense to people, or like Michael McIntyre's Big Show, and every week there'll be a thing where a celebrity's been set up to, it'll be what's it called, Unexpected Star. But they are a big singer, but they will be sent somewhere, like to do a sign-in at a bar, or taken to some sort of high-end dentists. And then when they're sat there, the whole thing is ludicrous, as the characters around them are bizarre. Then the walls fall down, and it turns out they're backstage at the theatre, and then they get handed a microphone, and they just have to sing their song. It would be like Rick Astley, or I don't know if he's actually done it, but someone like Rick Astley or like Sophie Ellis-Bextor, then they just have to sing. And even when I was working on that show and doing stuff with Michael, I found myself in mad situations. And at no point did I think, oh, I could be on that show. Like, you never think that's happening. You just are dealing with what's happening at the moment. Basically, I'm very gullible and I could be easily fooled into any of those shows. I'd be, God, yeah, I'm so, because even if people are acting bizarre, I do, and it'd be interesting if you watch this show, Jury Duty. I promise I'm not getting paid to talk about this. There are so many things when he just says things so polite to people who are being mad around him, which is what this guy who has the accident says something to him. You'll see, you'll know exactly the moment I'm talking about. And he just goes with it because it's like a people pleaser. And I guess that's somebody that you want on the show, is somebody who is actually a people pleaser, who is just sort of going to go with something that someone's saying just to make it safe for everybody. Am I making sense? I think so. But also, maybe not. I might not be making sense today. I will do like a post on my grid one day about the fact that I have this podcast. But for now, to keep it safe, I just sort of post about it on my stories and on my extra channel thing on Instagram because I don't want... I feel like if you listen to this, you know what I'm like. But if this was the first episode anyone listened to, they'd probably go, I probably won't do that again. Maybe I'm being too harsh on myself. I'm just, I'm tired. It's now been 15 minutes and I haven't had more of this tea again, but it does seem hot. It has kept its heat really well. So each week, the plan is I'll sit down with a drink and chat to you. And it's sort of if I invited you over to mine, say we were friends. We are. And I said, I'll get back from my skiing holiday on a Saturday night. Why don't you come over Sunday? I'll tell you all about it. Imagine you came over and I just spoke this absolute nonsense to you. I will get better at this. The plan was, do you remember at the start I said, I'll do this every week for a year and let's see if I get better. I've got a long way to go. It's not far off Lent, is it? It's February. I can never say that. February. That's my big question for the week. I'll do a big question for the week every week. This one is what are you giving up for Lent? I wasn't going to give up anything, but I think I should. I think what it should be. I find it hard when it's giving up things. I think they should do it where you are. I realise it was initially for Easter, right? That you stop eating chocolate. So you put all the chocolate in your pancakes. And then you don't eat chocolate for 40 days. Then we have Easter eggs. Now, I don't know, at some point, what do they call it? Capitalism's got involved there, hasn't it? I think at some point they've gone, you were probably supposed to be doing something more cleansing than that. Was it because Moses spent that many days in the desert? Was that him for 40 days and 40 nights? Did he roam the desert? Was that... Or did he part the waves? I know I've been talking about Harry Potter. There's been a part of me going, should I just read the Bible so I actually know what it's all about? Who roamed the desert for 40 days? Okay, yeah. Who roamed the desert for 40 years? It wasn't 40 years, was it? Was that the devil? The Israelites, led by Moses, wandered in the wilderness for 40 years after they left Egypt. This period served as a punishment. Oh, yeah, 40 years. This period served as a punishment for their disobedience and lack of faith after refusing to enter the promised land. So they just had to wander in the desert for 40 years. I wonder if we should do that instead of prisons. Would that be cheaper? If people are actually guilty, if we just used a bit of the desert and just sort of put walls around, and you can hide food and bits around for them, so they've got it there, food and water, and just went, there you go, you're 8 years you're in there for. Is that good or is that really right wing? Is that a really right wing take? It's not death penalty. They won't die. We'll be keeping an eye on them. Be a good TV show, actually. Another series for jury duty. Everyone in there's a criminal except for me, and I didn't realise I've been chucked in there, and I wonder why I kept having to go and do interviews every day about roaming the desert. So why do we do Lent then? Why do we do Lent? We celebrate as a 40-day Christian season of reflection, repentance, and preparation for Easter, remembering Jesus' fasting and temptation in the wilderness by practicing prayer, fasting, and almsgiving, charity, to grow closer to God and focus on spiritual renewal. It's a time to give up worldly pleasures, Lenten sacrifices, examine one's life and turn towards God, culminating in the celebration of Jesus' resurrection. How did that become? Have a load of pancakes, give it 40 days, eat a load of Easter eggs. I'm glad it did, but I don't know how it got there. But I'm glad it did. I'm glad that him being born led to us all getting presents as well. Really, think about it. If there wasn't Christmas, it would be a really tough time from like mid-November. America's got Thanksgiving. There'd be nothing in the UK. We don't have any of that. So, without now this sounds a bit sort of preachy, but without Jesus, December would just be a long, cold month with no nice lights up, no music. Well, there'd be music, but nothing like, the ones we have. Christmas songs that we all look forward to. There'd be no time to sort of catch up with your family. I guess we'd have New Year's, because that would exist anyway. But we'd still be BC, because we'd still be waiting for him to turn up. So we'd still be BC. It'd be, I don't know what year it would be. What year was he born? What year was Jesus born? Maybe is that what this podcast is going to become? What year was Jesus born? Is that a thing people should know? Or is it just going to be 0 BC? What year was Jesus born? Between 6 BC and 4 BC. Huh? How could he have been born BC? That doesn't make any sense. He can't have been born between 6 years before Christ and 4 years before Christ. No. Is BC? Does BC mean before Christ? I think this podcast is better when I'm just learning stuff in front of you. What does BC mean? Before Christ. So how could he have been born 4 to 6 years before Christ? Or maybe, do we not know he was Christ for a while? When was he start performing the miracles? Maybe it was about 6 when he walked on water and they went, oh, that's him. We should have changed the calendar to AD. Ages ago. We should have just made it Anno Domini. I once knew a girl called Anne Domini. I wonder if they did that on purpose. Right. There's a lot for me to learn there. I don't understand it. If anybody does, let me know. What year was Jesus born? How can it be 6 BC to 4 BC? He can't have been born 6 years before he was born. Does that make any sense? 53 minutes is what I always aim for, and this is 53 minutes. And the reason I aim for 53 minutes is because one person told me it's the exact time that they commute to work. And so I said, I'll always try and keep it to 53 minutes for you then. And that's how we're here. I'll be better next week. Imagine if that becomes my catchphrase, and every week you tune in and you go, one day he'll get it right. Anyway, thanks for listening to whatever that was. I am going to go and have a nap. It's a 25 minutes past 4, Sunday the 1st. You're listening to this Monday the 2nd, at least, AD. And what was the question? What would you give up for Lent is what we're going to talk about this week in the Sip Happens Club. Oh, quite like that. It is a club. So, welcome. What are you going to give up? And also, what year was Jesus born? Or please explain to me how he could have been born 6 BC to 4 BC, if BC means before Christ. Please let me know. Again, if you want to get in touch with anything, or what I want to know is what I do actually want to know is, and if you're still listening, what you do while you're listening. I know one lady commutes to work, and now I've gone over, so she's in work now. She can't listen to this bit. What do you do while you listen? I know somebody Mixon messaged to say that they were working on a farm, I think, and they were ill, and really struggling with the flu while they were working on a farm, I think. And I'd complained that I had the flu and I was sat here in my room on an armchair doing a podcast. Anyway, in an armchair. On an armchair, in an armchair. Don't know. Thanks for listening. If you want to get in touch, you can on either Spotify comments or YouTube comments. That's the two places to go. Again, please do. I usually do the rate and review thing, but if you want to leave it this week, I understand. And also, somebody messaged me because what it is I can't see reviews from all over the world. But if you comment and you message me on Spotify or on YouTube, I can see those no matter where you're from. That's fine. And I will go over some comments and messages next week. I was supposed to do that this week, but I ended up talking about Carluccio's jury duty, the Bible, and coming up with a new way of punishing criminals, apparently. Right. Speak to you next week. Bye.